welcome back to this week's episode of Riding the Wall. You got both of your tag team champions of the podcast world this week. You got Justin back from vacation. How was it?
It was hot.
Yeah?
Expensive.
The weather?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't much other than weather. Hot down there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's little eye candy down there, but nothing to drive
Right.
15 hours for.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I didn't tell anybody where you was because I didn't want the fans or any of the beach girls running up,
Right.
hindering a family
I
vacation.
appreciate a little privacy when I get out like that. So.
Yeah. Well, I was looking out for you. Other than that, what'd you do down there?
I drank a lot.
Did you catch any fish?
I didn't even try.
No?
No.
Yeah, that's all right.
No, this was the family vacation. You know, I get quite a few little breaks throughout the year. You know, I go to Florida in January and February to fish the bass nest.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously me, you, and Jess go to Bristol for a race every year. Sometimes we pick up a bonus race here or there. You know, we hit little dirt track races throughout the year. So, I mean, I get a lot of me time, you know, and Lisa's real good about being real comfortable with me doing that. You know, we got a real good, solid relationship. So she's all the time like, just go,
yeah.
You know.
Get out of my hair.
Right. And so this was the family vacation. You know, I fulfilled a few promises I made. You know, getting the kids out and getting Lisa to the beach and stuff like that. So we're all good.
Yeah. Did you go ocean side or Gulf side?
Ocean. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been on ocean side of Florida. I've been to Savannah, Georgia, which is the same ocean, I know, but
yeah,
I've never been to ocean side Florida.
Yeah. It was nice, but I was ready to get home.
Yeah. Yeah. Florida's nice. You missed out on the smog and fog from Canada. That was down here last week. It's kind of weird, but yeah, it is what it is.
Right. How was everything in Indiana other than the smog and the fog?
It's about the same. You know, corn's growing.
Right.
That's about it.
Keep the neighbors off the grass and everything.
I've been trying. That guy, I tell you what, he's yeah. Still the same old crap, but I'm trying to find my property corners. You know, I don't know if I've told you this, but I've been trying to find my property stakes. So that way I can put like a line of bushes or something like that to without being a real asshole and just extending the fence, even though I can't. I'll put up some bushes or something like that to let them know hey, this is the line, you know, because I don't really want to fight with anybody, but at the same time, I want to keep them off my grass because I'm old and that's what I want to do.
Punching the face is a lot cheaper than bushes.
Punching the face it's been thought about.
Not
but
that
no, we had
violence or anything, but
well, you know, sometimes people just deserve a punch in the face,
yeah,
and that's how friendships start. Sometimes,
right.
You know, went to the races last week here in town. Same old winners.
Yeah,
it really pissed me
crowd.
off. Yeah, pretty much same crowd, same winners. They did advertise that they are going to have, what is it, the July 5th race? I believe it is, something like that. Whatever the Wednesday is, the first week of July. I think it's the 5th. They are offering $1,000 to win for the modifieds, which for this track is its
pretty
biggest
good.
purse so far, right? Just because it's just starting. It's trying to gain traction with the fans and the racers, and it's on a Wednesday night, so it's not competing with any other track. So, I mean, they got the right idea going. And I really hope that this can draw a lot of modified drivers because I really want to see that kid get beat.
Yeah.
And for those of you not around this area, maybe you are around this area, you may know of these drivers, but there's a driver from just south side of Louisville, and his name is Ben Harmon. I think he's like 15, 16 years old. He's not a very old kid, you know. And growing up in this area, I have rooted for his family in figure eight racing because that's where his family did all their racing.
Chris, right?
Yes, his dad is Chris Harmon, who, if you're up around the Indianapolis area, that name should sound familiar because he's been up there in the World 300, or the 3-hour enduro race every September. and he's always got a chance to win every time he's up there. So I mean, they've always done really good with the racing, and now it's this kid's turn. It's Ben is his name, Ben Harmon. And like I said, he's only 15, 16 years old.
Went 2 weeks ago, or what? No, it was a month ago when we went. That's who I was cheering for to win. You know, I mean,
Yes.
there's some things there, but for being that age, he's a talented kid.
Yes, he can wheel the car. I'm not denying his talents. But I would really like to see someone else win, just because in his post-race interview he said he wanted to thank Dad and Grandpa for putting in so many hours on the car.
Yeah.
He never said anything about him putting in any hours on the car. So therefore, right there, I can't cheer for him.
Right.
I can't do it.
In our mind, he's sitting in there playing Xbox while Dad and Grandpa's out there turning wrenches.
Yes.
And I don't agree with that. If you're gonna,
Not at this level.
he needs to take advantage of what he's got at hand.
Yes.
The knowledge that he can learn and gain from Dad and Grandpa.
And that's a ton of knowledge right
Yeah.
there, because between them two, I mean, I was a little kid. His grandpa was racing before I can remember, So that shows how long I've been cheering for that family name at the local tracks. But now they went from figure eight to dirt. They're kind of coming more into our neighborhood, and they're winning. But they're only beating like 6 or 7 cars.
Right.
So
There were 7 a month ago when we went. How many
Yeah.
was there the other night?
probably 5.
5.
And I think that's just the product of being new and being on a Wednesday. A lot of these racers are racing for points at their local tracks, so they're not going to come up here on a Wednesday.
Use their car for $1,000
and- yeah, and
payout, or
possibly-
500 or
Yeah, probably $500
Right.
is usually what it was. Back when I was racing at Brownstown, I think the modifieds paid $500 to win, so it's probably not much more than that. But especially at a startup track like this. But there was one guy from Kokomo, and he was driving a pure stock.
Really?
Yeah, and Kokomo's like a 2-hour drive from here.
Hell yeah, at least.
So, and it was a Camaro. I mean, it looked cool. He didn't do nothing down here, but
Right.
it looked cool. But so yeah, I did that. Hopefully next month they can draw in a lot of modifieds and beat this kid.
The only thing I think might hurt it would be obviously July 5th, But maybe.
Well, it's the fair races.
Right.
So-
But maybe people will be off work, for the holiday or whatever.
Yeah, and throwing $1,000, I'm sure you're gonna draw a few. Probably not. You might not get a full field of 20, 22 cars, but who knows?
Let's wait and see. People come out and see
Yeah.
what we get.
Yeah, they had a ton of Crown Vics.
Yeah, they always do.
Yeah, and we were watching that one guy just spin out in turn 2 every lap.
Again?
Turn 2, turn 4, spin out every lap.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. Wasn't sure I was going to go, but last minute I ended up going down there with my dad and my brother, and we watched the races. So we've been to every one of them there. So we'll go on the 2nd. I think July 2nd is a Sunday. I think they're having races on the Sunday and the Wednesday, a fair race.
Huh.
So I don't know, but they're doing a pretty good job. They're making some upgrades to the track with like the stands, some of the bad bleachers that are kind of rough shape. They've been replacing them.
They redid the track this past, I don't know, winter and spring, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And it does seem to do a lot better.
Yeah, I think they're having some school bus races up there on one of those 2 nights.
Well, and I heard something about that, but I didn't know, since it's the owners of the Sportsdrome
Yeah.
that are taking over this thing, that if they were advertising for the Sportsdrome on asphalt or if the buses were coming to the dirt,
The buses are coming to the dirt. Well, they used half of them last year when they were holding up the fence after that.
Right.
After that storm took out the fence, but yeah, I looked, there was already probably 6 buses parked up there, so I'm sure they'll bring some more because that track can hold quite a few more.
Yeah.
Them turns are going to be tight for them, but
Yeah, they are.
that's going to be interesting to watch. So if you're in the area, July 2nd, July 5th. I-65 Speedway is what we're talking about.
31 South in Scottsburg, Indiana.
Yep. And hopefully it'll be a pretty good show. It has been a good show for what cars have showed up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they're still drawing a bigger crowd, so it's growing. It's growing. So we're gonna support that while it grows. And this promoter knows what he's doing. He's been around the block, so he's been down at Sportstrome for years. But
Yeah, I think H.R. Scotty was talking about going to that school bus race, but
oh yeah,
but anytime he gets around them school buses, he pulls out in front of them. You know.
this might be a good week to tell that story. We're gonna tell on you, Scotty. But you want to talk about NASCAR news before we get into that?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Most of the news this week just covers Stewart-Haas Racing.
No penalties.
No penalties this week. Hey, we figured out how to avoid the penalties. Just don't race.
Yep.
Now, Stewart-Haas announced, as everybody kind of expected they would, that Josh Berry is going to replace Kevin Harvick in the 4 car. That's going to start off next year in the 2024 season.
I'm
along
excited
with that,
about that.
Yeah, I think he's going to do good.
I am. The last kind of free agent I was hoping Stewart would get a hold of was Kyle Larson, and
Yeah.
he tried, but Gene Haas wouldn't sign off on it. And I mean you got to see both sides of it. Because of what already happened with Kyle Larson's image,
Yeah.
throwing air quotes there. Which I think it's horse shit, but. They just couldn't take the risk on sponsors and everything like that. So I mean, they're the two that's got money in the game, not all of us. So you got to respect Gene's opinion, but Tony was really going after him, and he just couldn't make it happen. And then, now that we got Josh Berry coming in, and I'm really really excited about that.
Yeah, and he's going to get off on a good foot, I think, because Rodney Childers, who is the crew chief for Kevin Harvick right now, is going to stay in that spot. So he's going to have a lot of information, a lot of guidance to give Josh and get him going on the right track, get him going as best he can, in this situation. But how many races has Josh already run in the NASCAR Cup Series now? He's already ran a good 5 or 6 races. Plus, he can bring some information to Stewart-Haas from Hendricks. He can say, hey, this is what they were doing. Let's try that.
Right.
I would probably start off with swapping engines.
No, not at all. Not at all. What I'll tell you, what I'm most excited about is Josh Berry's going to get half the season. What's left of this season, the other half, to be shoulder to shoulder with Kevin Harvick. You know what I mean? And I mean that you can't buy that.
Right.
I mean, that is the information and the guidance that he's going to receive, and see how he works with Rodney and the rest of the team. You can't buy that.
Right. Yeah, he's going to get off on a good foot, like I said. I mean, there's
big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill, but them big shoes are also, like you said, they're guiding him, getting him that, that initial.
Right.
I
mean, look at the shoes Harvick got thrown into.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I mean, the level of.
It's kind of odd how that comes full circle, right?
Yeah, the level of confidence and guidance and knowledge is incredible right there.
Oh yeah, and to have Stewart as your owner,
Yeah.
I mean, which he's done a few things on the track too. So, but that was news that kind of everybody expected 6-8 weeks ago was gonna come out at some point.
I expected it, but I wasn't. But I was also holding my breath because it's one of them things that I wanted so bad. I wasn't even going to talk about it or
Didn't want to jinx
assume
it.
it. Or, right.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. The other stuff in Stewart-Haas news is Chase Briscoe is. Let me get my notes here. I usually don't take notes, but he's getting a new crew chief.
Yep.
Starting this week at Nashville. Richard Boswell is his name. Currently, or he was currently, formerly, I guess I should say, the crew chief of the number 98 monster car Riley Herbst in the Xfinity Series, but he's going to move up to the 14 car with Chase Briscoe. And and John Klossmeyer. Hope I'm saying that right. He used to be the crew chief for Chase Briscoe. Is getting moved to somewhere else in the organization, a vehicle performance group, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So he's going to stay within the organization. They're just shuffling some
Sounds
things
like
around.
maybe that his background is engineering or something, and
Could
they
be.
gave him a shot at crew chiefing, and
Yeah.
he's going back to where he's most valuable.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about this is the Boswell guy that's coming in with Briscoe. He used to be Briscoe's crew chief in the Xfinity Series, and
Right.
they won 8 races in 3 years. I think they won 6 races in 2020, if I remember it correctly. 6 races in 2020, so that may be right there just an instant improvement.
Yep.
So I mean, we've known the whole year that Stewart-Haas has got some work to do.
Well, I mean, everybody in a Ford,
Yeah, all Fords have work to
it's
do.
not just Stewart-Haas. I mean, you expect more from Stewart-Haas than the rest of the Fords. I do. I mean, Stewart-Haas and Penske are the two big Ford dogs, and ain't a whole lot going on the Ford side.
No,
So
no, not a whole lot going on at all. And with Stewart-Haas's group of drivers, they were, they were needing to find some new ones. You got Harvick going out, you got Almirola, could go out at any time.
yeah,
So
he said he would stay on for at least this year.
yeah.
And I mean, I don't look for him to come back. Honestly, I don't look for Almirola.
You think this is his last year?
I think this will be it.
Yeah, I think it could be. Who do you think's going to replace him? Who would you like to see replace him?
Justin Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might happen. Might happen. You never know.
Tony, if you're looking for a driver, you're looking for me.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens. But no, I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you what I expect. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I'll tell you what I expect. If Almirola retires, I look for them to bring Coaster back up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because, I mean, he's been doing pretty good. I mean, he started the year off kind of slow, but over these past 6 or 8 weeks, he's really been, showing what he's got in the Xfinity Series. So.
And for those of you that don't know, that's what I call Cole Custer, is Coaster. Because he disappointed me there that last few years.
Yeah.
You get an opportunity like that. If I'm in that position, you either win or you wreck it trying to win. You know
Ross
what I'm saying?
Chastain the hell out of it. Get to the front.
Right. You sell merchandise, if nothing else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean,
even if you're finishing 25th every week, at least you're doing something out there that's going to make people take notice of you.
exactly.
Yeah. So that's really all we got as far as the news in NASCAR goes. I mean, pretty slow week considering we didn't race, but
Yeah.
coming up this week is Nashville. What do you think about that?
I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it'll be a nail biter. I think it's going to be one of them tracks again where somebody wins by 4 or 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I expect. And unfortunately, it'll probably be a Chevrolet. It'll probably be Kyle Larson or William Byron right up there doing their thing that they've been doing on these tracks all year. And I can't be mad at that because, I mean, they're obviously putting the work in and getting the job done, so you got to respect it.
Yeah. I am. I'm going to go ahead and send you my pick right now for the fantasy league, just so we got it on record and we can openly talk about it here. This was not the person that I had originally.
Well, mine was close, but I sent mine last Tuesday to the group that I send it to, so everybody knows it's fair and legal.
Who did you even take?
I took Ryan Preece in the 41.
That's right.
Now, I was leaning towards Harvick.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Harvick's got a good shot at winning this thing.
He's done pretty good the past couple of years.
So, but just because fantasy reasons, I'm holding off I'm saving him, and I'm going with Ryan Preece. I like how Ryan Preece runs this track, and hopefully he can have some luck on his side.
Yeah. I changed mine up I'm going to go with the 24 car of Byron, just because it's a Hendrick track. You know, I mean, we've raced there 2 years, and Hendrick has won both of them. Originally, I was going to pick Ty Gibbs, just because, for fantasy reasons, and these are my picks only for fantasy reasons, but I haven't used Ty Gibbs yet. Nashville's kind of a new track. Might be good to just throw him out there, you know, and see what happens. But I've got some ground to make up after last week's Daniel Downshift incident. That pissed me off. waiting all day for this race, all week for this race, because he's gonna do good, right? You know, and then third turn of the race is like, oh, he's dropped off the pace. I'm like, what the?
Yeah, I was watching it live, and they went to the in-car camera, and as soon as that happened, I about spit my beer out because, you know, I wasn't cheering for the guy or nothing, but you know, a lot of people picked him in the fantasy league.
Like
and
7 people.
Fortunately, I wasn't one of them.
Right.
And I knew by the sound of that car when it hit 9,700 RPMs, I was like, oh,
that's not
shit.
good.
If it didn't blow right there, it's going to blow soon.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and that's what I was listening to the announcer say. Well, we're just waiting for Daniel Suarez to just blow the car up since he downshifted like that. I'm like, that's great. That's great. It's exactly what I wanted to hear, you know. Just makes everything better. Just waiting on my guy to blow up instead of moving up. But, yeah.
Where do you finish at? 22nd?
Does it matter?
No.
No, I think.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he was back there. Way further back than I hoped he would.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was in a 20-something. But I don't know. Made me mad.
Yeah.
And then we have an off week, an extra week to sulk over it. You know, just really chaps your ass for a whole another week instead of getting another race and moving on. No, we can't do that.
That's Father's Day.
Yeah.
You know, so let them have a break and enjoy their families. And
yeah, I'm glad they got to do that. You know, I think they need a couple more breaks throughout the year, but.
Well, they used to. The 2 races, or the 2 Sundays they never raced, were Easter and Mother's Day. Years ago, that's the only 2 Sundays they didn't race during the season. They even raced on Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to me, it's like maybe give them Mother's Day and Father's Day off. So, you know, their wives aren't spending the weekend at the track like a lot of them do. Maybe, you know, these drivers can reward their significant others for being by their side throughout their career.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I agree with that. Give them a couple Sundays off.
Yeah. So, where do you want to go from here?
Well, let me ask you this. This I thought of earlier today with the announcement of Josh Berry being picked up by Stewart Haas, but you know, NASCAR a few years back went to a playoff format like a lot of other sports did. And this is hypothetical, but what would your thoughts and opinions be if NASCAR went to a draft series for drivers that are retiring? Like, they can, you know, Stewart Haas obviously announced at the beginning of the season, and they make that a rule too. So, and keep in mind, this is all hypothetical. Okay. If you've got a driver that's retiring, he has to announce it before the season.
Okay.
So, they announced Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola. This would be their last year. So, Stewart Haas is going the whole season, knowing they're going to have to replace 2 of their 4 drivers. I mean, that's a big hit. It's a big hit to replace 1 of these guys. Because these guys don't just show up for a year or 2, you know. I mean, these are athletes that are there for a lot of times 15 plus years.
Right.
But what would your thoughts be if they said, here's the rules, you have to announce it before the season and on the final year of your contract? You might have a 4-year or a 5-year contract, but if you're going to retire, you have to announce it before the start of your last season in that contract. And then
So, hold on, let me stop you there, just so I know the rules here. So if, like, let's say Almirola had a 5-year contract, and this is year 3, and he decides he's going to retire, he has to announce it at the beginning of that year, or does he have to wait till the end of his contract? Does he have to wait till year 5? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna say he can tell his team anytime,
Okay.
but for NASCAR regulations, he has to announce it before the start of his final year. He can tell Gene Haas and Tony Stewart, hey, I know I got 2 years left, but when my contract's done, I'm retiring. Now, he don't have to announce it to NASCAR until
the beginning of that
the
final year.
beginning of that final year,
I got
before
you.
the series before that season starts.
Okay.
Well, then, that gives, and I just think it would be kind of cool to. I don't know how they would work it out to where who got the first pick, who or anything like that, but to me that'd be pretty cool to have one of them. But on the other foot, you don't have a lot of people retire every year or quit every year.
Right.
I mean, it's so I don't know how entertaining it would be, but reason that thought generated in my mind was because they adapted more to the playoff
format.
Yeah, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. They adapted more to the playoff format, and I like it. I do.
It took me a while, but I like it now.
Yeah, I like it. So I was just thinking, I mean, these guys got to go out and somebody. And here's what I'm going to say is a driver in the dirt series. Any series that's below the Monster Energy level, you can be in the Camping World Truck Series. You can,
And you're eligible for the draft.
and you can put yourself into the draft if you want. And then maybe in January, because let's just say in second week of December, they have a NASCAR combine.
Yeah.
Out in Arizona or something like that at Phoenix, or in California somewhere, and these owners and crew chiefs, stuff like this, they can show up and give these drivers that maybe they haven't seen or worked with very much a skill challenge, and I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Once you add the combine in there,
Yeah,
I think that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, something like that. The draft part of it, you might only have a couple, 2 or 3 guys getting drafted per year, but hey, if that's part of the process.
But you could also, I mean, here's the little side kicker to it, is this draft could take place every year, so this could shorten the length of these drivers' contracts, because I mean, you might go from getting a 4-year contract to getting a 1-year contract, because if you're not cutting it, I've got a draft next year I can choose a new driver with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I got you. So
it's going to keep these up and comers. It's going to keep these drivers more, push them to win more. It's going to push them to.
Right. So somebody like, let's take Ryan Preece, for example, who's in his first year of his contract. It's going to push him to stay at the top of his game or get to the top of his game a lot faster if he knows there's a whole crop of drivers just waiting to take their seat. And along with what you're saying, the owners will just give a 1 or 2 year contract from then on, basically.
Unless something like Kyle Busch happened, like this past season where Kyle Busch left Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, it's obvious he's proved himself. So he can get a 5-year contract from Richard Childress Racing if he wants, if that's what they choose to do. I mean, it'll be up to the owners on how long of a contract these people get. But I wouldn't flinch an eye at giving Kyle Busch a 5-year deal at all.
No, I wouldn't either.
Jimmy Johnson, I would. I would flinch at giving him a 5-year deal because, I mean, I just don't think he's invested as much in it as he was 20 years ago.
Right.
So, not knocking his talent. I mean,
I think that would That would definitely bring an entertainment value to it.
Right.
You know, and maybe, I don't know. Do you televise some of this combine?
Absolutely.
You know, kind of see what these drivers are doing, how
And
they're testing them.
obviously, it's not going to be on Fox 41 or nothing like
Right.
that. You know what I mean? But for the racing fans that like to dive that deep,
Yeah.
put it on a
You could stream
speed
it or
channel.
something. Yeah, speed or something like that.
You know, that I think it'd be cool to see that.
Oh yeah.
So
I think it would be pretty cool. It definitely adds some intrigue to it. You
Right.
know, you got this guy that's struggling, like Cole Custer was last year,
and the year before.
and the year before. And then you're thinking, well, he's
But,
up for I don't know, review. You know, that means basically the young kids are coming to take your job, bud.
Right, but I mean, look at how many teams are in the back every week in the Monster Series, and they've got this same driver, you know, every week back there. And I'm not saying it's the driver's fault by any means, but
Sometimes a driver can make that difference.
exactly.
You know,
I mean, to me, if you give me a name of one of them guys that's always in the back.
I don't know. You talking about let's say Justin Haley. He's not always in the back, but he's not a Joey Logano.
Right, but you know, to me, it's like
Let's take B.J. McLeod.
okay, BJ, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take BJ McLeod. Don't know him, never met him. You know, he's out there doing a job I would love to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But so props to him. You know what I'm saying? But I'd be willing to put a paycheck on it that if you put Kyle Larson in that car, you just swapped them, you would see the difference.
Yeah.
In the driver ability. So if you've got these guys that are announcing that they're putting themselves into the Monster Energy draft this season, and you know, it might be some Joe Blow in South Carolina that's been racing dirt his whole life, never even been in a truck series race,
Right.
you know, but he goes out there and kills it, hits it off real well with the owners, comes out there and makes a huge name for himself. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool because that would give the owners an opportunity to not only see what some of these just random drivers throughout the country can do, which a lot of times those are your best drivers.
Right.
You know,
And
the
you
old
don't-
shade tree mechanic that goes out here on a Saturday night in a street stock and just kills it.
Right. But you know, a lot of NBA teams, NFL teams, and hell, a lot of colleges have employees for their football or basketball programs that travel year round and scout talent.
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR don't have that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? These NASCAR teams,
As far as we know, they don't have.
right? As far as we know, they don't have that. I mean, there may be a rare opportunity where it's like, hey, I heard this guy in Brownstown, Indiana's badass.
Yeah.
Stewart's going to send somebody out there and check it out, you know. But I mean, if that happens, it's probably on a rare occasion.
Yeah.
But let them come to you, show their set of skills, and you know, maybe you don't make it. But even more importantly, those drivers that don't make it, they get to have sit downs with these teams, and they get to discuss things with these teams. They say, hey, work on A, B, and C. Come back next year.
Yeah. They get to
You
see
know.
the process.
Right, and it helps them
Mhm.
achieve their dream.
Right.
You know, I think it'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, and along with that, what I was saying is that it also, not only are they going to be able to show off their talents behind the wheel, but they're also going to be able to show off their talents as far as recognizing sponsors, be that face for the team.
Yeah.
You know, that you don't get that opportunity until you are the face of the team,
Right.
you know, and then you find out after that whether they're good at that part of the job or not, you know.
And they know what to expect when they get there. You know what I'm saying? These drivers that aren't familiar with
Yeah.
going to that level of racing and that level of stardom for some of them, you know, they know what to expect when they get there. They don't screw it up.
Right. That's true. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be watching some owners fight over drivers and
Right.
stuff. That'd be pretty cool.
But you know, you could also say, let's say BJ McLeod's team gets the number 1 draft pick. because BJ's retiring. It was announced first, or however they do it, lowest in points, however.
Hmm.
But then Rick Hendrick says, "Hey, I've got a guy that he ain't working out. I'm firing him. So I'll buy the first round pick from you, and I'll give you, you know, the fourth spot."
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So now
Yeah.
you're giving those smaller teams more money. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
something like that. To where they can compete with the bigger teams a little
That'd
bit
be
better.
interesting. I think it would definitely add some.
I'll give you a line of credit.
Yeah.
Rick Hendricks give another Chevy team a line of credit. I mean,
Hmm. That would be pretty good. How'd you think of that?
this
Just random thought.
right. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like I said, it was Josh Berry's announcement. Stuart Haas's announcement of Josh Berry coming in, and they got him. But thinking back to the Kyle Larson situation and everything like that, it just generated
Hmm.
these thoughts. But
Yeah, that would be interesting.
yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool.
It would be real cool.
Uh, I'll go ahead and when and if they decide to do that, I'll go ahead and put our names in the hat for the
Okay.
draft. So
All right, that'll work. One bit of news that I seen a couple days ago, I forgot to mention. Justin Marks, which is the team owner for Trackhouse, he owns the
part owner, him and Pitbull.
him and Pitbull. He owns the Daniel Downshift car and the Ross Chastain car. He is going to drive at the Chicago Street Race in an Xfinity car for Colleague Racing. So he's going to be teammates with Allmendinger at the Chicago Street Race. So I think that's pretty cool. Just to see a team owner step into the driver role, even if it's for only one race. That's pretty interesting. Let's see how he drives though.
I mean, that's kind of Jimmy Johnson's
Yeah.
deal this year.
Yeah, he's kind of doing the
6
same
races,
thing as Jimmy.
half owner.
Do you think he'll do better than Jimmy?
I
mean, you
don't
can't
know
do
how
much
can
worse.
I mean,
I've never seen a 7-time champion struggle so bad.
I mean, whose car is he going to be in?
Colleague Racing.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're fielding an extra car.
I mean,
I'm not sure.
I wonder if Marks has a background in any of this.
Yes, he has a background in street racing. That's why he said, I was reading the whatever article it was I was reading a couple of days ago. It said that that's his forte is street racing. So like overseas, how they actually have a race on the streets, not over here how we have a bunch of yahoos just racing on the street, just racing their Priuses and stuff. But no, he actually has street race experience, and he said as soon as they announced that they were going to Chicago for the street race, he wanted to be involved in it somehow. So yeah, he's going to be a driver for Colleague.
I'll be.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it will.
Be real interesting. So.
But it's going to be in the Xfinity race, right?
Yes, that's an Xfinity.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. But one thing I had for you, now this I wrote this down on a scrap piece of paper earlier in the year for times when we didn't have much to talk about. That things that I could just randomly throw up there that we might be able to discuss for a minute. And I'm not gotten to be able to use this yet, so I'm going to throw it out now. In the beginning of the year, everybody was talking about Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch this, Kyle Busch that. He's the greatest of all time. And it got me thinking, Kyle Busch is very good. I'm not going to take that away from you. You can't take that away from the guy.
I don't care if you hate him or love him.
Right.
You got to respect what he's done.
Yes. And this was in a moment of my transition from not liking the guy to liking the guy. So I pondered this question. Is Kyle Busch the GOAT?
Well, I mean, you can make some arguments for it, and you can make some arguments against it.
Well, my quick answer to that is no, he is not the GOAT. It's just like people today saying LeBron James is the GOAT. No, I'm sorry, he's not. He's far from it.
Right.
And I don't think Kyle Busch is far from being the GOAT, but I don't think he is. He can be in the conversation, but there's no way he can come out on top, in my opinion. just because,
Championships.
well, championships is one of them. He's got what, two?
Mm-hmm.
Two championships. When you've got three guys out there with seven, you've got a Jeff Gordon who had what, four championships. You got some other guys out there that can match Kyle Busch right now in the game. Logano has two. And I don't know the list to go down them all, but there's so many drivers out there with the championships. But it's just a different. Why he's not the greatest of all time, in my opinion, is just because the drivers before him that did more with less.
I see that. Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, look at what Richard Petty had. Look what he was working with. I mean, it's this basic bone car that you can get, right? I mean, of course, he had the best money could buy at that time. But as far as the technology, everything that goes into these cars.
They were running carbureted motors,
Yeah, well, I mean, their seats in these things were just,
right.
They look like a recliner with a seat belt on it, but
the tires
and open face helmets.
I mean, the tires have came so far. And even in the last 20 years, the tires have came so far, let alone the last 40.
Right. So it's just, for me, no, he's not the greatest of all time just because, and like I said, one of the big reasons of that is the time he's doing it.
I'm gonna flip that on you too.
Okay.
So, just like you brought up LeBron James, people saying he's the GOAT. You and I in this room right now, we
that's
know
laughable.
Right, that's not a fact.
Right.
So, yeah, he scored a lot of points and this and that, but to be the GOAT, you have to have performed in the era where the competition has been the most brutal. Now, that's why I will say Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, those guys are the GOATs.
Mm-hmm.
Because if any listeners watched NBA games in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, you know the Chicago Bulls, the Lakers, the Pistons, the Celtics, these guys were brawling. This was not James Harden getting bumped on the shoulder and flopping like a crappie on the court. You know, I mean, there was none of that. These guys got punched in the face.
Yeah, and talking shit the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
And these guys performed at a level that LeBron James performs at now, while getting punched in the face.
Right.
Yeah. And so I will say you can put a check mark in Kyle Busch's category for GOAT as far as competing with the drivers that he's competing with now, because I think you're seeing a wider variety you're seeing more talent on the track right now than you would have in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
I don't know about that. I think you're correct with the talent on the track now, maybe better than what was out there in the 70s. I can't see the talent being better now than it was in the 80s and 90s. Just because...
I'm going to say I can name 12 to 15 fantastic drivers out there on that track now.
Right now.
I couldn't do that in the 80s and 90s. Because you even look at Brad Keselowski, who's not doing that well right now. But he's a champion.
Yeah.
He's got a championship.
Mm-hmm.
He's not making a lot of news right now because he's doing other things. But he's one of them 12 to 15 right now.
I don't know, man. When I think back to the 80s and early 90s, I'm thinking of guys like Earnhart, Mark Martin, Ricky Rudd, Davey Allison,
Jarrett,
the Allison boys, the whole group of Allisons, Dale Jarrett. I mean, there was just so
Tim
many.
Richmond,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you're right.
There was just so many. Jeff Bodine, I mean, you get
Walter.
to thinking, that's what I'm saying. You get to thinking about it, you're going to come up with 10 more guys. And at that time, any of those guys could have won the race.
And that's what I'm seeing right now, though. You know what I mean?
But back then, and this is kind of one of the things of what I'm getting at is the drivers back then, they could make up for a bad car. You know what I mean? They've got a car that's just not running worth a crap. They know how to.
But their hands are tied a lot more now than they used to be.
That's true. That's true. That's where the debate comes in,
Right.
you know. So I just
They
could
think make up for it.
you know, a guy like Earnhardt or Ricky Rudd or maybe even an Ernie Irvan, Bill Elliott type of guy could take a slower car that was just not, it wasn't handling all that great, but it had great speed. They could figure that out and make it work and win with that car that would have normally been maybe a 10th place car. Whereas the guys now, I don't know if a lot of them can. You've got a few guys out there that can. Larson, Busch, maybe a Chase Elliott, Harvick, maybe a Denny Hamlin, some of the long-time guys, but maybe some of these newer guys.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure that Suarez can do that, or I'm not sure
even Chastain.
a William Byron can do that.
Right.
You know, at least as good as.
I think Logano could do it.
Yeah, I think Logano probably could.
Blaney, I think he's right there on the fence. You know, he's about that point.
Blaney's a damn good driver. Yeah.
He is.
So I don't know. It's just I go back to that all the time, and my immediate answer is always no. He's not the GOAT, but it also goes right along with that. LeBron James, is he the GOAT, or is Michael Jordan the GOAT, or is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the GOAT? You know, you could put a handful of guys, a handful of names in that, no matter what sport.
I mean, 10 people will never agree on it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You could put 10 people in a room, and it's never going to be agreed on.
Right.
But we both know Michael Jordan, Larry Bird. Those guys are the ones that were out there playing in bloody socks. You know, because their feet were fucked up, and they were still performing. You know, I mean,
having the flu and still scoring 60 in a playoff game.
Right.
Ain't seen LeBron do that yet.
Right. I mean, LeBron gets his headband pulled down in front of his eyes, and he has to go out of the game.
Yeah.
You know, and fuck that.
Right.
That's just the only thing I can say. I was trying to
be nice about
trying to come up with something real quick but that just fits it. So
yeah.
Kyle Busch, definitely, I think he's going to be in the conversation for the top 5 all-time NASCAR drivers. I think that would be more suitable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he's got 200 career wins in the NASCAR series. You know, that's Truck, Xfinity, and Monster all together. You know,
right.
That's pretty damn impressive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he come back from the year he broke his leg. He come back and won 3 races back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Made into the chase, won the championship. I mean, you can't just write that in a script.
Right.
You know. So.
Does Chase Elliott get in the playoffs?
This year, somehow he will.
I think he will. I think he will too. I think he's going to win to get in. I mean, as far as the points, I was looking at the points a few days ago, and he's going to have to do good. But I think points-wise, he can get there.
If any of these teams think that they're safe by getting in on points, they better stop and rethink that. Because the way these penalties are falling, the way NASCAR's hammering down on everybody, I would not be comfortable going into the bubble and hoping to make it in on points. Because, I mean, look at Chase Briscoe, what he got hit with. He went from like 14th to 31st in points.
Yeah.
Over one penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, if something happens and you get penalized, are you willing to put your going into the chase on that? You know, I'm not.
Right. Right. I think he's going to get in just because as the year goes on and this season progresses closer to the playoffs starting, he's going to get more aggressive. He's going to get more desperate. And he's going to Ross Chastain 1 or 2 people out of the way, and he's going to end up getting a win somewhere. Could be at Chicago Street. He's won Nashville before. Could be this weekend. Could be next weekend. We've still got the Indy Road course. We've got Watkins Glen before.
And you got Michigan. He does great at Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's...
So I mean, there's a few opportunity, and well, we got Atlanta right after Chicago. He's pretty good at Atlanta, so you can never count him out anywhere we go. But I don't know.
But
I think it would be a good storyline if he didn't make it, but who knows? I think he's going to get in though, off of a
so
win.
let me ask you this, since we're on this Chase Elliott, this just popped in my head.
Okay.
Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman have both been out at different times this season for Alex's back problems and Chase's broken leg and suspension.
Mm-hmm.
But who does Rick get now to go in the car for one of these guys?
If I was
something
Rick Hendrick, I would
happens.
probably go for Justin Allgaier.
Would you?
Yeah. He's a Chevy guy. He's the same camp as Barry. That would be my number one pick.
I would bring Justin Haley up.
Justin Haley's already up.
No, I mean up.
Oh, you mean take him from Colleague?
Take him from Colleague
Oh, I
and
got you.
put Allgaier in the Colleague car. Because Haley's proved himself pretty well. I'm not saying he's an all-star out there yet, but he's young, and he's out there fighting. I mean,
Right.
he did good at Atlanta. He does
He's
good
gotta
at
win.
Daytona. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a scrub.
No.
I would bring somebody up like that, I think.
Well, yeah. Like as a substitute driver, like they do with LaJoy.
Right.
Yeah. I never thought of that route.
I think that's the route I'd go.
That wouldn't be a bad route, I mean,
He's young. He's out there really trying week in and week out.
Oh, yeah.
There's no.
he's out there scrapping with the big boys and he's holding his own.
Yeah.
So,
He's letting his driving do the talking.
yeah, that wouldn't be a bad deal.
No.
I would like to see LaJoy get into something, maybe on a longer term basis than just one race. Give him a few weeks in a car, and see what improvements he can show with that.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't mind seeing him going into Almirola's seat.
LaJoy, he might. I don't know how tied to Chevy he is. A lot of these drivers, which that's kind of new to me. Drivers being tied to a particular manufacturer. They're basically, it's like they've got multiple contracts. You might be contracted to this team to drive their car, but yet at the same time you could be contracted by Ford to drive strictly Fords. So the number of teams that you can go to, your options for moving up or moving on may be limited based on your contract with just this manufacturer, And I didn't even know that was a thing until
Yeah, I didn't either.
actually I watch a lot of YouTube, and I watch the Haley Deegan, her YouTube channel and stuff, and that's how I learned about it. She's contracted by Ford, so she doesn't even have an option to go to a Chevy team. Like if a Rick Hendrick ride was to come available, she wouldn't even be an option just because she's tied to Ford. That's why I thought maybe she might be going into a Stewart Haas
Like a
car,
Danica
like a Danica Patrick.
in Almirola's seat, who Almirola got from
Danica, yeah,
is opening
so
up. So
that would definitely be a name that would come up quite a bit in the conversation when Almirola decides he is done for good. I would definitely look out for Haley Deegan to possibly sit in that ride for at least a couple of years to see what she can do. I've got opinions on that, but
right,
I'll save them for later.
definitely move some merchandise.
Definitely move some merchandise. Tony's not dumb.
No, he's a businessman.
Right. You can make money more than one way in a race car.
But no, I mean, we talked earlier in our podcast season. We talked about our Mount Rushmores, and I think, for every diehard NASCAR fan, they've got their own Mount Rushmore. and
Oh, yeah.
Davey Allison was on mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I'm sure he wouldn't be on everybody's. You know what I mean? It's hell, Dale Earnhardt probably wouldn't be on everybody's. I don't know how he wouldn't be, but
Right.
I'm sure there's people out there that just absolutely would not put him on there.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Petty and Gordon and all them guys. But I think um, Kyle Busch would definitely be in that discussion for a top 5 of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And
Definitely.
I don't think you could. I don't think you can put him up there for the GOAT yet. I know there's some fans of Kyle Busch out there. I'm a fan of Kyle Busch now.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some diehard Kyle Busch fans out there that would argue with me, saying that he's the GOAT now. But I just don't think it's feasible to put him in that position right now because his career's not done.
Right.
So that's where I stand on that. I think he's definitely a top 5 contender to talk about with Earnhardt Sr., Petty, Gordon, those likes those guys,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think right now he's just on the outside looking in as far as being on a Mount Rushmore. Or at least my Mount Rushmore.
I mean, Stewart's only got, he got 2 championships, and 3.
I think he got 3. I think. Well, let me look it up.
Yeah.
Because that one year he tied with Carl Edwards. They had a tie, and he ended up getting it because of number of wins or something like that.
But I mean, to me, Stewart's on my Mount Rushmore. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you want to break down wins and starts and racing in Truck Series and Xfinity Series and everything like that, Kyle Busch has got him beaten in those categories. But my GOAT is going to be different than this guy's GOAT and this lady's GOAT and your GOAT. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah. The GOAT conversation is strictly opinionated.
Yeah.
Opinion based.
And there's 20, 25-year-old guys out there that have watched LeBron James play over his whole career that never got the opportunity to watch Michael Jordan like you and I did, or Larry Bird like you and I did.
Right.
That's what we seen in real time.
Mm-hmm.
We know why they're the GOAT. I mean, these guys played when Boston played the Lakers in one of the championships.
It seemed like every year there for a while.
But, I was watching this documentary, and I watched, we watched the series in real time on TV, but we didn't know any of this that went on behind the scenes. But,
right.
Like, Larry Bird was talking, and he said, we played game 1 in L.A., and these guys were just running up and down the court against us like, it was nothing. The Lakers wasn't getting winded. They were cool and everything like that. And they they played game 1 in Boston. And when they went to L.A. for game 2, L.A. was running up and down the court like it was nothing. So the difference was it was cooler. L.A. in their Coliseum, they had a lot better air conditioning and everything like that. So when they got back to Boston, Larry Bird and some of the guys told the crew there at Boston Gardens, don't just turn the air off, turn the heat up.
Yeah.
And when LA came to, they maxed it out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was fans in the crowd, and watching this in real time on TV, we don't realize this.
Right.
But I mean, we see the fans with no shirts on, and being sweaty and everything else.
But we don't know why.
We don't know why.
We just think they're drunk.
And and it just in this Netflix docuseries that they did, Larry and Danny Ainge and Robert Parrish, they was like, hey, don't just turn the air off, turn the heat up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something ridiculous. It was like 90-some degrees inside there when LA showed up to play game 3 in Boston. And but Boston practiced all week
with the heat.
With the heat.
Yeah.
They practiced all week. And I mean, Magic went out of the game. I mean, all these guys were just they wouldn't even sit on the bench. They were laying down on the floor in front of the bench. These Lakers were, and here you got the Celtics running up and down the court like it's just playground,
Right.
I mean, you got cool things like that happened, but there was things that made these teams and some of these players on these teams the GOATs compared to what these 25-year-old men and women think they've seen out of LeBron James.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's always going to be a personally opinionated.
Right.
But Larry Bird's mine.
Larry Bird's got to be in everybody's conversation. I mean, So I looked up just to make sure. I thought Tony had won 3. It says he's a 4-time NASCAR champion. But I'm like, no way. There's no way. Google's wrong. Of course, I'm smarter than Google, right?
Right.
So
I say you are.
okay, I appreciate that. But it said he won 2 as a driver in 2002 and 2005.
Right.
He won 1 as an owner driver in 2011. That's the one that he tied with Carl Edwards. And then he won 1 as an owner. So he's got 3 as a driver, 2 as an owner.
Right. And I was a Carl Edwards fan too.
I like Carl Edwards.
It devastated me when he just dropped off. He didn't announce retirement. He didn't say nothing about quitting. He just, it was like,
Yeah, he's like, I'm done, I'm out.
yeah, peace later.
Mhm.
And, I've got Carl Edwards koozies, shirts, hats, all this stuff because I was a fan of him. And when I'd go to these races, last time I went to Indy, well, no, not the last time, but I was fortunate that year. I went to like 3 races that season, and I was like, holy shit, I'm glad I went to at least 3 because Carl didn't even announce he was quitting or retiring or anything like that. So I'm glad I got to see him 3 times his last season.
Yeah.
But, Smoke's a champion at everything he does. Whatever that guy does, he goes balls deep at it. You know what I'm saying? He don't
Right.
he don't half-ass anything. So I knew he had the 2 championships. Obviously, he tied with Carl for 2011, but that's like I don't believe in ties.
Yeah.
So I just don't. It's especially at that level.
Yeah.
If you're going to tie in a race, that's one thing. I don't even think that's possible now.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
But you know what I'm saying? If you're going to tie in a race or you're going to tie in something, you're not going to tie in a championship.
Right.
I don't believe
You
it.
have to have a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care if you thumb wrestle for it.
Right.
Somebody's going to be the champion.
Mm-hmm.
But you.
So, with all that said, let's talk about this story that we was going to get into with Scotty and the school bus. This is HR Scotty, and I know where you're going with this because this happened when we were what? Well,
I was a sophomore.
I think I was going to say
You
me and
guys were
Scotty
seniors.
were we 2 years ahead of you?
Yeah. You.
I thought it was only 1 year.
No.
Okay.
It was either I was a freshman and you guys were juniors, which he was driving the Omega then, so
He was driving the Omega.
so it may have been his junior year.
Yeah, I was going to say we had to at least been juniors.
Right. So my brother, he had this Omega, and this was a bad ride,
Oh, what year was that? Do you know?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I would say it's probably a 78.
Yeah,
something like
somewhere in there. But this is an all steel car.
Mm-hmm.
For people that don't know, the Omega kind of resembled like a Chevy Nova.
A Nova Chevelle type of car,
Right.
round.
It was made by Oldsmobile, and
And it was shit brown.
yeah, it was shit brown. Had a tan vinyl top,
Mm-hmm.
and but it was shit brown, but it was shit and get too.
Yeah, wasn't
So,
bad. Wasn't bad. Even with HR Scotty driving.
Right. If Scotty's driving, something's gonna happen. Now, Scotty always liked to go fast, but Scotty wasn't the wheel man that
No.
that we turned out to be.
Right.
So now we're going to school one morning, and we
I'm laughing over here uncontrollably.
So Scotty's driving, and on our way to school, about every morning we stopped at Save a Step to get us a Mountain Dew or whatever our drink of choice was.
Which was like right across the street from the high school.
Yeah. So, but Scotty had been driving his car for a couple of days with zero brakes, and I mean these brakes for days were grinding to the point of like when he would pull up to a stoplight, he would hit his brakes, but it wasn't doing anything. He'd have to throw it in the drive to stop.
Yeah.
But, it's middle of the week. He wasn't riding to school. He wasn't getting a ride to school. So, we go out.
I like the attitude. Just take it with no brakes.
Right. I mean,
I like that.
I'm game for that.
I can respect that.
So I'm in the passenger seat. Well, we come out of Save a Step. And the Save a Step parking lot goes downhill to the highway across from the high school. So we come out of Save a Step. We got what we need. I get in the passenger seat. Scott gets in the driver's seat, starts up. And we make our way towards that little hill going down towards the highway.
You need brakes to stop at that.
Right. Yeah,
I'm just putting this puzzle together for all the listeners.
You definitely need brakes, to make this stop. So
Right.
I mean, there's literally like 30, maybe 35 buses that go to this school every day. So he commences to hitting this hill. Shit, car ain't stopping. Well, I mean, he couldn't gun it because you got 2 lanes going each way. You got 4 lanes of traffic. You're going to hit somebody.
Right.
Well, this school bus is coming right towards us, and the school bus ain't stopping. I have no idea why. Because, I mean, he wasn't. I mean, the only reason I can think of is the school bus assumed we had brakes.
Right.
And
That's their mistake.
Idiot.
Where they find these bus drivers at? Jesus.
So, we're going down this hill. Front end goes out in the right-hand lane of the northbound traffic, and this school bus just bam hits Scott right in the front end. I'm sitting in the passenger seat like I think I just spilled some Mountain Dew on me,
Right.
And we look up, and it's not your average school bus. It's the special needs school bus, and so the all hell breaks loose on this school bus. Why we're still sitting in the car. And Scott's like, shit. He's like, come on, get out with me. I was like, I ain't getting out of this car.
Right.
I am not getting out of this car right now. I have a hard time keeping my composure in certain situations. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into that
Right.
on the radio right now. But it wouldn't have been good for me, Scott, that driver, or them kids if
Right.
I got out of the car. So, I mean, this is like a fender bender. Like, I mean, it didn't even scratch the bus. You know what I mean? But it pushed his steel fender in pretty good.
Yeah.
But they had to do it all by the book. I mean, there's 3 cops that show up, an ambulance rows up. Kids are running around like their lives are in jeopardy and
Right.
everything else. They have another school bus come and get these kids and put them on that one while they do all this, and I'm just sitting there in the car like,
Sipping your Mountain Dew.
right. But I mean, it's like, seriously, I mean, we could both go on our way. No, nothing is, do your police report for insurance reasons and let's get on the road.
Right.
There was no reason whatsoever to do any of that. But Scotty came pretty notorious after that morning
Oh, yeah.
for
Yes, he did.
those actions. He got brakes put on that day.
I bet he did.
Yeah.
I remember walking into school that morning, and I'm thinking, because you never know what you're walking into back then. So, I remember walking in, front door opens up into the little lobby, and you got the cafeteria common area right there. And first person I seen was Scotty. You ain't gonna believe what just happened to me. I was like, what?
You're really not.
No, I was not prepared for what he was going to tell me.
He wasn't lying.
No, he wasn't lying. You're not going to believe what happened to me. I was over at Marathon getting some drinks, me and Justin, and then he tells me what happened, and I just busted out laughing. I shouldn't have been laughing because, it could have been severe, but, hey,
It was.
we were 90s kids, so
Right.
we laughed.
Yeah, it was a funny, fucking funny situation because it could only happen to Scott.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of all buses to hit
Right.
at that time, he hits the shorter one.
Right.
Which, hey, that's some good aim, if that's what you're aiming for. That's
You're hitting a smaller percentage of
right.
buses, but
Yeah.
it's also one of them things of like, just like you said, where are they getting these drivers? Because, we wasn't stopping.
Right.
We never like even slowed down going down that hill, and this guy's just coming at us like he don't give two shits. He's moving this car.
He had a bad morning already,
Right.
and he was going to end it right there. Oh, I remember that. I remember that like it was yesterday almost.
Yep.
And there was another one when, while we're telling stories on Scotty, we're just going to tell on him. There was one day I walked into school, and we were all on the wrestling team back then. And we were guys. We were young. We were on the wrestling team, so we're always competing against each other. We're always talking shit to one another.
Well, this is back when everybody didn't get a trophy.
Right. Nobody. Yeah. You had to win to get a trophy. You had to,
You
you had to back up what you was saying.
Yeah.
And we did that. We did that with Who's the Man contest back
Right.
in the day. Nobody out there knows what a Who's the Man contest is, but it's basically it's an MMA match
Right.
among friends.
Yeah.
There was really no rules other than you
Nope.
couldn't punch in the balls and you couldn't punch in the you couldn't punch in the
balls
balls. That
and
was
you couldn't pull hair.
pull hair. That was the
Yeah.
only rules that we had. Other than that, everything was good. So we were always having a Who's the Man match, and the only way you could win, you couldn't win by tapping out.
Or pinning or anything like that.
You had to win by making the other person say, like if me and Justin were in a Who's the Man match, the only way that I could beat Justin would be to make him say, Chad, you're the man. So it basically took the place of tapping.
Right.
But that
Takes a
to
lot
a
of-
young man, that's an ego hit.
Yeah, yeah.
So it made it even worse than an MMA match.
Yeah. You're the man. You're the man.
Right.
And
You don't want to say that to another guy.
no, absolutely not.
No,
And,
not what I was back then.
I don't think one was ever won that me and you didn't win.
I don't think so.
No.
But back to
Anywho,
my story. I walk into school, and we were all on a wrestling team. And and the first person I see again was Scotty. Because anytime he had news, he was right there waiting for me to walk in the door. And so I walk in the door, and I see Scotty, and he's got this jock strap on the side of his head. And I seen him from 100 yards away.
everybody did.
You cannot miss this guy. And back then, Scotty had hair. We called it his kid and play hair because it went straight up. He had a buzz cut for so long that it didn't fall down.
Yeah.
It would go straight up for like 8 inches before it started to fall down. And he had that hair going on. And he had this
Bart
jock.
Simpson.
Yeah, kind of like a Bart Simpson. And he had this jock strap on the side of his head, and I was like, "What in the hell has Scott got on his face?" So I get up there a little closer to him, and I'm looking right at this thing, and he looks at me. He goes, "Shut up! Just don't even say nothing. Don't just shut up." I was like, "Dude, what happened? Why do you got your jock on your face at school?"
Yeah.
I got cauliflower ear.
Yeah, he did too. And for those that aren't in the wrestling world or anything like that, cauliflower ear, you see a lot of MMA fighters with it. It's where the cartilage in their ears get torn or break, and the fluid builds up in their ear, and it ruins their ears. They have to get them cut open and drain the fluid out, and it fucks up your ear pretty bad. But
Yeah, it just looks like a puffy ear.
right,
Yeah.
gets real thick and nasty. And
Yeah.
Scott had to get his drained and everything like that.
But he wore a jock strap
Yeah.
to school.
Yeah, he had to wear that jock
For a
strap
good
on his
week.
head. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, just absolutely he did. But it was
I still make fun of him to
Oh,
this day
fuck
for
yeah.
wearing that jock strap.
it was funny, but he handled it like a champ, I guess.
He did pretty good with it. He did. I mean, if you're gonna wear a jock strap on your head, you gotta handle it like a champ, right?
Yeah,
So good job, Scotty, for doing that.
I think it made him feel tough that he got it. That he wouldn't have done it on a dare. You
No.
know what I'm saying? If his
Right.
ears would have been okay, he wouldn't have done something like that on a dare because Scott always cared about his image and always trying to
Yeah.
be
Oh yeah.
that
He
guy
was.
and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think it helped him a little bit, helped his pride a little bit that it was from wrestling and fighting and everything like that. You know, oh, I got
I'm
you know how
tough.
I got
Look,
that.
I'm
Yeah,
tough.
Yeah.
See, here's the proof. I got a jock strap. Yeah, I remember both of them days like it was yesterday. The day he hit the bus and the day he come in wearing the jock strap, and I don't let him forget about it.
No.
Can't do that. Well, that's all the HR Scotty story I've got for today. But one thing before we get into this fantasy stuff, one thing I talked about last week when you wasn't here was I was wanting the storyline after Sonoma to be that Kyle Busch has won 4 races and Toyota had won 4 races, right? Because Kyle Busch was right there running second. I mean,
Yep.
he was ready to win that Sonoma race at any time, and that's what I was wanting, for Kyle Busch to match the whole Toyota manufacturing in number of wins to that point. It didn't happen, ended up Truex won, so now we're at Busch with 3,
props
Toyota
to Truex
5.
though. I like Truex.
Yeah, I like Truex. He's even though he's my wife's man crush, he does pretty good. I can't really
I mean,
pull
everybody
against him.
everybody gets their hall pass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I've got mine too. So,
Yeah. Who's yours?
well, it's a funny story.
Okay. Might as well roll into it.
So the old lady brings this up to me one day about who's your hall pass. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, well, every couple has this hall pass. Even celebrity couples. They have this hall pass thing where you got a crush on somebody, and if you ever got to meet them and had the opportunity to sleep with them, you get to get away with it. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Who's yours? And she said Justin Timberlake. And she said,
What was your thoughts when she said that?
I didn't care.
Okay.
He's got money, talented guy.
Yeah.
So I could kick his ass at least.
Well, yeah.
I mean, at least it ain't The Rock. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
True.
So, so it's I was like, okay. And she said, well, who's yours? And I'm like, lady up there at JC, working checkout.
I wasn't expecting that.
Well, I mean, who's got better chances of getting their hall pass?
Right.
Her or me? You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I've ever seen that lady up there at JC.
Well,
I'll keep an eye
yeah,
out.
Yeah,
I'll know who it is as
yeah,
soon as I see
you
her.
will. You
Okay.
will. That's for sure. So, I mean, I've not always been the book smartest person,
Right.
but I know how to take advantage of the situation.
I like your style.
Even if she ain't cute, I get a freebie.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Now you said,
Exactly.
don't get mad at me.
Yeah,
You
playing
know?
by the same rules.
You ever meet Justin Timberlake, I ain't gonna get mad at you.
Right. Well, I did talk about Hunter losing his top spot
Again,
again.
yeah.
And I know he is not going to like that. I'm sure he hasn't slept in probably 6-7 days.
It's probably been longer than that.
Well, I don't doubt it. But he's got some work to do now because he's 12 points out of the
I
lead.
know. That's not.
You're not going to
12
get that
points
back
is
real
harder
quick.
than what you think it is.
Yeah, that's what I told her. You know.
Yep.
Mofat up in the top 5. I
Yeah.
really didn't see that coming.
Well, I mean, them numbers jumped a lot. You know, I mean, a lot of people went higher than what I expected them to.
Yeah.
I hit 200.
Yeah.
I'm at 200 points even. 1 point behind Scotty. He's at 199.
Are you going to pass him this week?
Absolutely.
He's probably already turned in his driver, didn't he?
He has.
He has. It's Wednesday, so people can still change them, so I'm not going to ask what his driver is. He hasn't told me.
Well, and I turned mine in last Tuesday. And
Right.
you, Brian, and Tyler know that.
Mhm.
So he turned his in after I did. But him and I got to.
Did he pick Bubba?
No.
Oh.
No. He's saving. He's pissed he only gets 2 Bubba picks.
Yeah.
You know.
He's saving them for the last 2 races, ain't he?
Probably. But. So it's. He actually picked a driver that I would compare pretty good to Ryan Preece, which is who I took.
Really?
Yeah.
That leaves me wondering. He told me yesterday that he was going to pick a Chevy guy, or he was leaning towards a Chevy guy.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell me who it was. And I told him, at that time I was leaning towards Ty Gibbs, so I told him I was leaning towards a Toyota with a Chevy as a backup, because I was going to go with either Byron or Bowman. I'm not ready to use Elliott or Larson yet. But I'll go ahead and burn Byron. I don't mind. He hasn't, even though he's been really good this year.
Yeah. I mean, 3 wins.
Normally, anytime I pick Byron or Bowman, I get screwed. It's just so Byron might finish 35th this week.
The 3 Bs, Byron, Bowman, bought you.
Yep,
You know?
that's exactly what happens. Because I fell a couple spots last week. I didn't like that. You know, I was 11th, getting ready to make my way into the top 10, sneak up a little bit on Scotty. But no, I fell to 13th. Earl's working his way back up there.
Yeah,
He's up 3 spots.
he's had a good couple weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. He
go
normally
ahead.
don't turn in his driver until right
Last
at
minute.
deadline time.
Yeah. But yeah, Mom, she's came a long way. She's right there behind me. Scott, me, then Mom.
She's gonna pass both of you at the same time. Is what she's gonna
She
do.
might. She
Yeah.
hasn't turned a pick in yet, so
Does she talk shit when she does that?
nope.
No, she
She's
should
silent.
be.
She should.
Silent assassin's what
Yeah.
she is.
Just picking us off one by one.
Yep. Just smiling the whole time. Jess is still down in 17th spot. I make fun of her all the time.
Well, yeah, you kind of got.
I mean,
she's up 3.
Well, yeah, I
So
have to.
she's on the way up, but you gotta take advantage of it while she's down there.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna kick shit out of her every time she's. Yeah,
Right.
if she's below me, I'm gonna let her know.
Yeah,
Hey.
absolutely.
You're coming in this thing, because she was talking some shit before the
I
season
guarantee
started.
it. She's a trash talker.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She always
was-
follows it up with that little giggle too. When
Yeah.
she says something shitty. You know,
I know.
motherfucker.
So you can't be mad at
Right,
it.
you
know?
can't.
You can't be mad at it.
It's aggravating.
I know, trust me. But she's like, I'm just gonna come in there. I'm just gonna beat all you boys. It's like, okay, let's see it. Let's see what you got. So, when she came in them first few weeks, she was in the top 5. I was like, God damn it, this is gonna suck. This is gonna be a long year.
Yep.
And then Bristol Dirt happened, and she just threw on the parachute and she dropped to the bottom. She was like, what, 22nd, something
She
like
take
that.
Logano with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She took Logano. He was at what, 2 laps, 3
Yeah.
laps, something like that. I think he spun 3 times, hit the wall a couple of times, and then he decided it was done. But she is up to 17th spot now.
Well, I
She's-
mean, and
she
most
is ahead
people,
of Brian.
yeah,
Come on, Brian. That's not saying a whole lot for you, bud.
and Tony.
Well, he's a UK fan, so
Right.
we expect him down there.
Yeah. He likes being on bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
As do most UK fans.
So.
But anyway, I just pissed off a lot of people. But, you'll have that.
Yeah, that's part of trash talking.
That's
right.
right.
So, I mean, for most people in the fantasy league, it's a roller coaster all year because you'll be at the top sometimes, you'll be at the bottom sometimes.
And you never know when that's coming.
Except for Hunter and Mike R. Hunter is always at the top, and Mike R is always at the bottom.
Always.
So
He was there all year last year, wasn't he?
no, he stayed up at the top pretty.
Did he? Was it late in the year that he
was late
fell?
in the year.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Because of auto picks.
Auto pick hasn't been doing him very good this year.
No, not at all. He's burned a lot of studs and has nothing to show for it.
Nope.
So, but Hunter, who's usually at the top, like he has a meltdown when he falls into second. I mean, that's insane, But it is what it is.
I would be trash talking anybody and everybody if I'm in the top 5.
Right. Sam has been staying in the top 5 for the last couple months.
Yeah, Sam's done really good.
Sam is killing it. I mean, he's not picking drivers that are very common. Like, you go to a road course, you're not seeing him pick a Chase Elliott or something like that. He's taking chances and
He's
risk.
picking the Chris Buescher types.
Right. I mean, he's playing really, really well right now, and it's working out good for him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, these points kind of bunched up after Sonoma. Like, you got the top 3 who are in their own little zip code.
Within 19 points of each other.
Yeah, and then you get Sam in 4th, who's at 185. And then after that, the points are kind of close.
Yeah. All the way down to
all the way down to
24th.
about, yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, and we've got, you look at the next 3 races on our schedule. I mean, that's not
Nashville, anything could happen.
exactly.
Chicago, anything could
Chicago
happen.
street race, it's a first time race. I mean, you don't know who's going to be good, who's going to suck. The only chance these teams have on being successful, I feel like, is if they get a driver in the Xfinity race.
Yes.
So they can make adjustments to their car all the way up till Sunday morning. So, and then you got New Hampshire. But I think you're going to see a lot of points shifting. Or no, I'm sorry, you got Chicago Street and Atlanta. And Atlanta is a small super speedway,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I mean,
anything could happen.
anything can happen.
I did some homework, and that right there is my homework that I've been looking at, because I've got all my drivers and how many times that I've picked them. And then I've got the remaining races and who I may put in that spot. That's just my early thoughts.
Yeah.
Nothing's concrete, obviously, but I'm just trying to get a visual of who I've got left and how many races to use them, So it's time to start doing the homework.
Yeah.
So if you're playing this fantasy league, it's time to start digging in. It's time to start putting that finish line within sight, because
Was it after this race? This race will be the middle of the season, right? Be race number 18 out of 36 races.
Yeah,
So,
roughly. It's the midway season.
We got 9, 5, and 2.
I think we've got
17.
10 races until the playoffs start, or 9 races. Without counting, I don't know. I can see them over there, but I think it's like nine races until the playoffs start. 10.
Yep.
10 till the playoffs start, and then you got 10 in the playoffs. So yeah, we're right at the halfway point. And that's when I like to do my deep dive into what I've got, what I've used, where I can use my remaining people at. Now HR Scotty's gonna be disappointed with me because I haven't put Bubba on there yet.
Right.
I don't know if I'm gonna put Bubba on there just to piss HR off.
Right.
Because that's what I like to do. I'm that person that
Poke the bear.
if I can poke that bear of HR, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Just for fun. Because that's how I've lived my life so far.
Right.
You know, I'm all right. But
It's always fun to poke the bear.
yeah.
You know, it makes for some good stories down the road.
Oh yeah. I told him I was going to pass him. I said I don't know if I'm going to pass you this week or not, but I'm going to pass you by the end of the year. And I've told him that every year so far. And, you know, the first year I was able to do it. Last year I was not. But this year I'm going to get him. I'm going to stay close enough. That way he's got to be watching that rear view the whole time. So, what are you thinking? I see you looking at that board.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just.
I see the gears grinding.
Oh, it's all smooth shifting up here.
Yeah?
Yeah, ain't no grinding.
Okay.
So.
So do you have plans on, do you have anything left on this fantasy league?
No, I don't think so. I think Nashville's going to be a. I think Nashville's going to be a standout race because here's what I predict with the fantasy league is we're not going to see a lot of studs turned in. I think this is going to be kind of a relaxed pick. You know, like I took Ryan Preece. I feel like that's a relaxed pick. I think Kevin Harvick can win it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to take Kevin Harvick because I got him chalked in somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I think Ryan Preece will get me a good finish there. I think you're going to see a lot of picks like Ryan Preece. You know, I think you're going to see some Bushers. I think you're going to see some Dillons. I think you're going to see maybe some Graysons. I think, you know what I'm saying? I think you're going to see that level of pick. Maybe some Keselowskis. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott and William Byron's, you know, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So the Chicago street race is going to be where you're going to see the numbers really jump, I think, as far as our standings go.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about that Chicago street race as far as fantasy goes.
Right.
Because I know who I'm picking.
Yeah, me too.
And I've had him locked in forever. And that right there on that piece of paper is who I'm taking. But I'm a little nervous that there's going to be quite a few people take that number.
You think anybody will take Justin Marks?
No. And the reason I took Byron this week at Nashville is strictly to make up a few spots. Because along with what you were saying, I think you're going to see a lot of random picks.
Yeah, you're not going to see a lot of
You're going to see some relaxed picks, yes. Yeah. So I'm going to take that Byron, and I'm going to try to jump a few spots because I'm going to try to get over Jason H. and Riggs for sure because they're 11 points in front of me, 6 and 11. And I'm trying to make up some room on Mama Lou, you, and H.R. Scotty there. I may not pass you all, but I just want to close that gap going into these next few races because Chicago Street, it's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up. Atlanta, it's another toss-up. New Hampshire, I think I've got a solid pick for New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to make up points with this Byron pick at Atlanta. Or at Nashville, I'm sorry.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I could be cussing.
It's going to be a slobber knocker.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, it is going to be that. So.
You got anything else?
No, that's about all I've got. I just wanted to remind everybody listening that check us out, ridingthewall.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Riding the Wall. We're new to that. We haven't put a whole lot up there, so stop in, drop a line, whatever. Good, bad, ugly, it don't matter.
Yeah. Give us some opinions. Give us some questions.
I would love to see some questions. What do you want us to talk about? Give us some ideas, and we'll talk about it.
After we clear it with HR.
Yeah, after we clear with HR, because he's kind of tough sometimes, but we're not too worried about that.
Right.
But let's see that. Let's see this social media, and we're gonna be at Bristol. If you're gonna be at Bristol, be looking out for us.
We will be in the grass field directly across from the track.
Yes, right there. Yeah, at the front entrance of the track.
Yeah.
And across the street in that grass. We're gonna shoot to be number one again.
Yeah.
We'll be playing cornhole. We'll have some shirts, maybe some beer koozies to hand out if you guys can beat us in cornhole.
Yeah. Stop by, get your picture taken with us.
Stop by. Just even if you don't want to take some. Even if you don't want to play some cornhole, just stop in and talk for a minute. You know, we'd love to talk to you. Kind of see what our
Meet the method behind the madness.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's all I've got. Yeah. Just trying to go through my brain, make sure that's all I got.
Yeah. For this week.
Yeah, that's all I got for this week. So wherever you're at watching the races this week, whether you're going to them in person, whether you're watching them on TV, enjoy. Enjoy. Go out and support that local track. You know, they always need that. So
Absolutely. Right in the face.
right in the face, and we will talk to you next week.